Hey divas, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Pink Table Topics. Y'all know what to do. Please drop a one in the chat if you can hear me. Happy Tuesday. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? It has been a day. It's been a day. Hello, hello. Okay, my sis says one. Okay, hey divas, welcome to Pink Table Topics. I am your host and your good sis, Pink Diva. Thank you so much for joining me. As you're pulling your seat up to the table, please don't forget to hit that like button. Feel free to drop down and leave a comment and also engage in our topic. Turn your bell notifications on so that you'll be notified each and every time I drop a new topic. And as you know, our mission is to create a safe space for women to gather as a community, engage in healthy dialogue regarding real life issues that we as women deal with on a daily basis, but most importantly, to foster the true meaning of sisterhood. And if you are here, that means you are subscribed and representing our diva tribe. And we're not just any diva. We are divine, we are inspiring, we are valiant, and we are admirable. Welcome to the table, divas. Happy Tuesday. How is everybody doing? Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me and pulling up to the table today. Let me go around the table and do my divas roll call and speak to my ladies that are here. My sis, my mod. Hey, sissy. Thanks for joining. Teresa Wright is in the house holding it down. How are you, sis? Hope you had a blessed day. Hey, sis. Angela Richardson is in the house. Hey, diva. My sis, Mama V, is here. Hey, Mama V, thanks for joining me. Hey, Reen, thanks for pulling up to the table, sis. I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How has everybody been doing? It's been a Tuesday. Listen, let me tell you, it's only Tuesday. And listen, when I say this 9 to 5 of mine has been getting every single penny out of me, oh my gosh. I'm talking about from the time I logged in, both today and yesterday, emails, random meetings. Oh my goodness, they have been getting it, and we are just at Tuesday. You hear me? We are just at Tuesday. I'm like Bridget J. Girl, what's going on? It has been a Tuesday. So we are here tonight for a good time and not a long time. Y'all know I'm not going to keep you. Angela says she's sorry her phone is acting up. Sis, you got an iPhone? Please don't say you got one of them old janky iPhones, sis. But thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Before we get started on our topic, we're going to go over our tea at the table news and updates. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me see what Teresa's saying. Teresa says Chit Chat sends her hellos. She's laid back in the dentist chair today. I know, sis. Be careful. I know she said she had to head out to that dentist appointment, child. Yeah, Teresa. Listen at Angela. She got an iPhone. I knew it had to be one of those old janky iPhones, Angela. Hey, Girlfriend Chronicles, thanks for pulling up to the table, sis. How are you? How are you? Hope you are feeling well. So good to see you. I appreciate you for being here. You know, I love me some you, Angela. Even if you do have one of those little janky iPhones, but that's neither here nor there. Hey, CDW, thanks for joining, sis. Thanks for pulling up to the table. I appreciate you for being here. But let's go over our news and updates really quick. As you know, October is a month of double. Hey, Deborah, thanks for joining. I'm going to start watching the chat. I'll speak to you all in a second. Let me go over our news and updates. October is a month of double awareness, which is breast cancer and domestic violence awareness. This month, we stand in solidarity with our survivors. We honor the fighters. We remember those we've lost and raise our voices for prevention, for healing, and for hope. So together, we're not just spreading awareness, we're spreading love, we're spreading support, and we are spreading empowerment. So let us encourage early detection, make sure we're advocating for safe spaces, and to remind one another that strength lies in unity. So to all of our warriors, to our thrivers, and to the overcomers, we see you, we support you, and we stand with you. Yes, yes, yes. October 18th. October 18th. What is October 18th, Divas? It's right around the corner. For those of you who are not aware, it is the launch and the meeting day of our official Pink Table Book Club. I am so excited. I'm so excited. The only thing that I'm trying to decide on is the actual time that I want us to do it for that date. So, for those of you in the chat that'll be joining the book club, would you prefer for it to be more of like an early afternoon meeting or maybe an early evening meeting? And keep in mind, I'm on Central Standard Time. So let me know. Do you prefer like an early afternoon or early evening type meeting time frame? The discussion won't be long. I'm probably estimating probably 2 hours, if that, possibly an hour and a half to 2 hours, not longer than that. But just let me know which one you prefer. It will not be late because I know some of us we'll be at Sis's channel doing some other stuff later that night. So it'll definitely be an early one so that we can go ahead and get the discussion out of the way. And then you got the rest of your evening to do whatever it is that you need to do. So just let me know which one you prefer. And so I can go ahead and get the live scheduled once the time has been decided. That's kind of what I've been toying with, trying to decide at a good time because this is Saturday. So that way you can make sure you turn your notifications in and so that you don't miss the live discussion. And you have about, what do we have? I think we have about 10 more days to finish the book. So I hope you're reading and you're ready for the discussion. I hope you're reading and you're ready for the discussion. And also, a couple more reminders. Make sure that you take some time to tune in to my Wednesday morning Pockets of Peace segments. This week, the topic is Finding Peace in the Pause. It's another good one, so please take a few moments to check it out. And also, I've already scheduled this week's Friday morning segment of Spilling the Business Tea. We're talking about the power of visibility in your business. So I've already got those pre-scheduled. The Pockets of Peace will be dropping Wednesday, and the Power of Visibility, the Spilling the Business Tea, will be dropping on Friday. So as you can see, your girl has been on it. I'm showing up and putting forth the effort to make sure I'm doing what I need to do to grow the channel and to keep the videos coming. We all know if we want to see growth, we have to put in the work, right? So I'm doing that. I'm trying to stay more visible outside of our regular Tuesday evening lives. I'm trying to drop some videos here and there to keep traction on the page. So keep sharing the page for me. Keep sending your girlfriends over to like the page. Share the videos so that we can continue to get traction. We are currently at 907 subscribers, and I told you all I have a goal. I'm trying to reach 1,000 by my birthday, which is December 1st. So I'm trying to stay active and do what I need to do to keep growing our platform, and that's what it's all about. So keep tuning in, keep liking the videos, keep sharing the videos, and keep leaving your comments because all of that works. All of that works, right? So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me go up and read. Teresa said, look at Teresa talking about Angela, don't tell her. I already knew it was an iPhone anyway. Hey, Deborah. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you for being here. Yes to book club. Yes to book club. Deborah says it's okay with me, whatever time everyone prefers. Thanks, Deborah. Teresa said I finished the book and thinking about going to the next chapter. Girl, look. I told you it was a page turner, Teresa, and it'll make you want to go to the next series in the book. Deborah says, what is the name of the book? The name of the book is Message from a Mistress, book number 1, Deborah, and it is by Arthur Knight Obia Bryant. Teresa, if you don't mind, can you put the title and the Arthur in the chat for Deborah, please? Thank you. I appreciate you. Angela says, love that Pink Diva Wednesday and Friday ones. Thank you, sis. Thank you. I had so many people messaging me. I kind of had slacked a little bit with the Friday morning business segments. Life be lifing. and I kind of slacked, but I had people messaging me like, "Hey, are you bringing these back?" So in the midst of being busy, I had to try to figure out a way that I could continue to provide those segments for everybody. So I was like, you know what? Let me just pre record the videos and then I can just still schedule them. So that works for me because I actually will sit here on like a Sunday and I'll just pre record all of the videos and get them scheduled so that they can drop at the said date and time. So that actually works. That actually works. Teresa said, also, please share the live. We need to get sis 93 more subscribers to become monetized. Let's help a sister out. Help a sister out. Thanks, sis. Right. We're trying to get Pink Table Topics monetized over here. So we need 93 more subscribers. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all that's been rocking with me since one subscriber. I appreciate you all for holding it down. Y'all know I love me some y'all. We have had some amazing times over here, and it only gets greater later. It only gets greater later. Hey, SKR is in the house. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. MLC Capricorn is here. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. How are you? How are you? Here is the name of the book for those of you who will be joining us for the book club, the Pink Table Book Club. October 18th, we'll be having our live book discussion right here on Pink Table Topics. The title is A Message from a Mistress by Niobia Bryant. And you do not want to miss this discussion. You do not want to miss this book. So read it, read it, read it. It is a 6-book series, and we are starting with book 1. And the reason I wanted to start with this series is because y'all already know we're all about sisterhood over here. And because this book highlights sisterhood, but it also shows some things that can break the sisterhood. So I wanted us to start with this series, and it's an amazing book, amazing read. So if you started, you already know what I'm talking about. It's amazing. I'm actually in the process of rereading it so that I can get my questions together. So again, you want to make sure you have read the book so that you will be able to participate in the discussion. So you will know what we're talking about when we're talking about the chain of events that's happening. Hey, Sharon, my sis Sharon is here. Thanks for joining, sis. I appreciate you. Yes, Teresa, author Niobia Bryant, not Brown. Yes, yes, yes. So I am looking forward to it. I am excited. I hope you all are just as excited as I am. And I am looking forward to it. But we're going to move on into our topic. We're going to move into our discussion. And tonight's discussion, it might get a little heavy, but it's one that could truly help set some of us free. And we are talking about family secrets, those things that, you know, it kind of get buried or hidden and whispered about, but never fully healed from, right? You know how it goes. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a household that says what happens in this house stays in this house. What happens in this house stays in this house. And that mindset might have been meant to protect the family, but what it really did was silence generations of pain. So tonight, we're pulling the cover off those silent wounds, not to expose or embarrass anybody, but to understand how secrecy actually shapes us, how it hurts us, and how breaking that silence can actually begin a cycle of healing for us and for the generations after us, right? So let's take a deep breath and let's talk about it, because what's hidden in darkness can't heal until it's brought to the light. And we already know what's done in the dark eventually comes to the light, right? So let's start with a quick question for everybody that's joining in right now. To those of you that's listening in, or if you're in the chat, drop a thumbs up in the chat if you grew up hearing what happens in this house stays in this house. I know my family could not have been the only household where we grew up for generations with the saying that what happens in this house stay in this house. How many? Drop a thumbs up in the chat if your household grew up with what goes on in this house stays in this house. Teresa said thumbs up. MLC Capricorn said thumbs up. I'm seeing thumbs up, y'all. Angela Richardson says thumbs up. Sharon said thumbs up. So now that you have provided your answer, do you think that mindset affected you later in life? Did you go through some things in life that you later realized was caused by that mindset of what happens in this house, stay in this house? See, we're more alike than we think we are. We all like have so many similarities. Girlfriend Chronicle says, yes, ma'am. And see, and that's the thing. And I think that's a lot of what we go through, especially growing up with that particular teaching or mindset. Nobody ever thinks about the after effects of the secrets, the family secrets, right? Because many secrets we know come from fear, because they fear judgment, they fear shame, they fear rejection. Hey, sis, my sis Gia is here. Thanks for pulling up to the table, Diva. Hope all is well. And sometimes people believe that hiding the truth is what keeps the family safe or normal, if you want to say. And I think it's more so of a cultural conditioning because generations were taught to protect the quote unquote family name, even if it meant protecting the dysfunction of the family. And there's a difference between privacy and secrecy, right? One of those words build boundaries, but the other one builds walls. So we need to think about some steps that we can take to stop normalizing silence and start normalizing healing, because a lot of us are messed up behind some family secrets, right? And trigger warning to anybody here that is currently trying to heal from family secrets. If you have to step away, I totally understand. But we've held on to some stuff. A lot of us have, held on to some stuff. We are working through trying to heal from some things that we've gone through, all because of family secrets, and all because for whatever reason we grew up in a household to where things that were done were swept under the rug in the sake of what goes on in this house stay in this house. Like, we don't talk about it. It's like we sweep it under the rug and we forget about it. There's no healing taking place. It's constantly building on the trauma that comes from all of this, right? Because what we have to understand is that it causes damage. Secrecy causes damage. It creates mistrust, it creates shame, and it creates generational trauma. We are taking this trauma from one generation to the next. Then there's a ripple effect. The children grow up emotionally confused because carrying pain that doesn't belong to them. And I don't know about you all. I remember when we grew up, my mom's siblings on her side, there was dysfunction. When you are a kid, I don't know about you all, but we were always told when grown folks are having conversations, the kids get out of the house. And, we would get out. We would get out of the room, but we nosy kids listening around the corner, trying to hear what mama and her siblings are talking about. And we can kind of put two and two together, but we really don't know what they're talking about. All we know is Mama and Aunt Sally aren't friends anymore. Like, they don't talk, and we can't go have play dates with cousin Sue and cousin Tim because Mom and Aunt Sally ain't cool no more. And we don't understand why they're not talking. We don't understand why they're not getting along. All we know are we're kids and we want to play with our cousins, but Mama won't let us go play with our cousins because her and her sibling don't get along. So what happens with that? We grow up emotionally confused, not really understanding why we couldn't be close to our cousins. We didn't have anything to do with the trauma or whatever was going on between our parents. We had nothing to do with that. We indirectly were affected by it because we are the children of the siblings that didn't get along with each other. So we had to carry that pain along with our parents, and we were emotionally confused. All we know is when we show up at the family reunions, because by all means necessary, when grandma say, come to this house for Sunday dinner, everybody in the family is coming to this house for family dinner, whether you get along or not. And it's not going to be no arguing or any of that in Granny's house. But we see how when Uncle Johnny walk in the house, everybody start putting their purses up. And we as kids don't understand, like, why everybody put their purses up when Uncle Johnny come in the house. We didn't know that Uncle Johnny was the family thief, right? We had no idea. It's just as kids, these are the things that we're seeing. Or when Aunt Sally walked in the house, we didn't know why Cousin Tammy would walk out of the house. We didn't know that there was some type of family beef between the two of them. All we know is we're paying attention to how the dynamics of the family or the dynamics of the room change when people walk in to those spaces, because nobody talks about it. It was always kept silent. And when we don't talk about it, all we do is repeat it, because unspoken pain always find a way to resurface. You hear me? Whether you talk about it or not, it will repeat itself, because that same unspoken pain is going to resurface every single time we go into Granny's house, every holiday, every time, somebody is emotional and upset with somebody, it's always going to resurface. And some of the most common hidden family issues are ABUs, infidelity, addiction, mental health, paternity, and abandonment. And for some of us, a lot of this stuff didn't really surface or become more vocalized until Granny passed away, right? Because we knew where the foundation of the family lies. And when Granny passed away, that's when all hell broke loose. That's when everybody got to talking. We never knew that our Uncle John abused his sibling or his niece. None of that was talked about outside of the household. We never knew that our granddaddy had a whole different family over across town. None of that was talked about in the house. We knew Uncle Pee Wee had an alcohol addiction, but we didn't know what actually caused his addiction. We didn't know that that addiction was a cover-up of something that happened to him when he was younger. We didn't know why Cousin Sue had a mental issue. We didn't know that she was traumatized in her childhood that caused this mental issue. All we know are we are kids. We're looking at our aunts, uncles, and grandparents and parents and, cousins, and we're looking at all of, this dysfunction that's going on in the family. And we don't even understand the root cause of the stuff. It has just become so normal that we say, Uncle Pee Wee, he crazy. All he do is drink. Nobody ever talks about why Uncle Pee Wee drinks. Nobody asks questions like, well, how long has he been an alcoholic? Like, what started it? What's the root cause of this mental issue that you keep saying Aunt Sally had? Like, when did she get like this? Has she always been like this? Like, nobody have those conversations. It's almost like when we know that Uncle Johnny has violated, one of the cousins, they just make sure they take him out of the room. All we know is, well, don't sit in Uncle Johnny's lap, or don't let Uncle Johnny hold that baby, or don't leave Uncle Johnny alone with those kids. You make sure we don't know why, they were really stressing the importance of us making sure we watching the girls, right? We didn't understand what Uncle Johnny had did and why. Well, Uncle Johnny is funny. Why can't I sit in Uncle Johnny's lap? Uncle Johnny liked to tickle me. But we didn't understand, from the point of the view of our parents, of why they didn't want Uncle Johnny playing with us. And, we didn't understand the mindset because they never talked about it. They swept it under the rug. All we knew is Uncle Johnny didn't come around until it was a family reunion or a Sunday dinner at grandma's house. That's the only time we saw Uncle Johnny. And we looking at our parents like, well, mama, why you ain't close to Uncle Johnny? Or daddy, why you and Uncle Johnny, ain't cool? All we were told was to stay out of grown folks' business. It was never talked about. It was always unspoken. And these are the children that grew up to be unhealed adults because we experienced some things that we weren't able to talk about. The family didn't talk about. It was unspoken. We was hush mouthed about it, right? We couldn't talk. We couldn't ask questions. If we asked questions, we were looked at like we was about to be beaten. Like, how dare you bring that up? How dare you bring that discussion up? Like, we couldn't talk about these things. So I want to ask those of you that are in the chat, without naming anyone, we're not naming any names, and we listen and we don't judge over here. Type one word that describes how family secrecy has made you feel. One word, maybe angry, confused, numb, disconnected. One word that describes how family secrecy has made you feel throughout the years. And I'll say for me, I'll say mine, confused and disconnected, because I'm confused at some things that took place, and that confusion caused some disconnection, because a lot of the stuff that was going on, because we didn't really understand what it was and what it was about, that caused us to be disconnected from other family members. And I kind of feel like it cheated us out of relationships that we could have had with our cousins. We never knew. Like, we don't have beef with our cousins. A lot of that beef stemmed from, our parents or our grandparents. And we never understood why. We never understood why. So let me see. April is saying isolated. Girlfriend Chronicle said alone. MLC Capricorn said incomplete. Ooh, Teresa said cheated. Mama V says understanding. Sharon said always on edge. Right, Girlfriend Chronicles. We weren't allowed to sit on man's lap, not even Santa. I know that's right. Teresa said we sure couldn't sit on our uncle's lap. My daddy would have had a fit. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Angela says she's not really sure. Girlfriend Chronicle says, I'm all of those at times, but understanding. And see, and this just goes to show that none of us are alone in what we're feeling. So many of us are silently dealing with the same hurt. MLC Capricorn says traumatized. See how traumatizing family secrets can be? Some of us are dealing with the same hurts. Because here's the thing. Sometimes the silence feels safer than the truth. But the thing is, silence never set you free. Not talking about it feels safe, right? Because I don't have to be judged. I don't have to be disassociated with by the family. It feels like the safe thing to do. If I don't talk about it, won't nobody know about it, and nobody can do anything about it. But the thing is, it never sets us free because we are continuing to keep the cycle going. We're constantly holding on to these things. And some of us are some adults messed up adults because we are still holding on to all of this trauma and we have no idea where it's coming from. And in our adult lives, like right now, we're trying to go get some therapy. We're trying to work through some of this stuff that we're going on so that we can get to the root cause of why we are like we are, so that we can try to break some of these cycles. Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining, sis. How are you? Thanks for joining. A lot of us are trying to go through therapy and find ways that we can break this cycle. And let's talk about breaking the cycle because, first of all, healing begins with honesty. And that's not to try to hurt anybody, but it's more so to free ourselves. And what are some ways that we can have honest conversations safely? Because a lot of times we have to tailor our words when we're trying to get to the truth, especially when we're trying to go back generations and we're trying to talk to our grandparents or our parents and or our elderly aunts and uncles, where we're trying to get some kind of feedback to, like help me, right? We have to tailor the way we approach the conversations. We have to use statements like, I feel hurt, or I feel abandoned, I feel lost, right? We have to start with I feel statements, and that avoids blame. Because we don't want to, if we want to get to the root cause and if we want to get to the truth, we got to avoid the blame. Although I may feel internally that I blame you for what I'm going through, that's not how I'm going to approach the situation because I want some answers. So I'm going to start off telling you how I feel about this situation. And I more so want to focus on your truth, right? And that means get therapy, or if you can't afford therapy, or if therapy is booked and busy, because a lot of them are unavailable because they are so busy, because there are a lot of us that are trying to break these generational cycles, and we are trying to seek help for some of the trauma that we're carrying. You may even have to get a neutral mediator that don't even know anything about you or the family member or whomever you need to have these conversations with, so that you can get through what it is that you're trying to get through. And then we have to redefine what loyalty looks like, because a lot of times we feel like if we address certain things, we're breaking the loyalty of the family. But being loyal doesn't mean keeping secrets that harm. You hear me? Because some of these secrets hurt, some of these secrets cause harm, and that's not loyalty. Me holding on to some stuff that I know you did and I know it was wrong, that is not loyalty. See, we got to break this cycle of this blind loyalty. And this, that what do they say? Blood is thicker than water. It depends. Right is right. Right is right. And me holding on to some stuff that I know you did and I know it was wrong, it's up to me to break that cycle by holding you accountable for the role you played in it. Love me or hate me. Right is right. And the truth is the truth. How you feel about it after is not up to me. It's between you and the Lord. Because I'm not holding on to that secret. I'm not carrying that secret. Do you see how that'll make you feel, how you got to go through your life carrying mess and junk and stuff that indirectly fell in your lap? Come on now. Give yourself permission to speak your truth, even if your voice shake a little. You may be nervous. You may be second guessing it, but speak it. That's the only way you're going to get it out. is to tell somebody, right? And a lot of times there have been, I can say, right, in my adult life, I have been that cycle breaker in some situations. I have been that one where I said the ball stops with me. I'm not carrying this mess. If you have been the cycle breaker in your family, drop a heart in the chat. If you have had to say, you know what, the ball stops with me with this secret. I'm not carrying this. I'm not supporting it. Drop a heart in the chat if that's been you. If you've ever had to face a situation in your family where you decided that you were going to break that cycle and you were no longer going to keep that cycle going and those generational curses going in your family, and you decided to talk about it because you decided to choose healing, guess what? Everybody else shipping it up under the rug. I'm not doing that. We're going to talk about it. We're talking about it. Even when it gets hard, we're talking about it, right? We are trying to break generational curses. And keep in mind, breaking generational curses is not betrayal. A lot of people want to tell, a lot of people want to come to you and say, well, you betrayed the family. Because how dare you bring this up? You betrayed the family. That's not betrayal. That's bravery. You were brave enough to bring it up. I want to know why granddaddy always went MIA and went across town every Sunday at this time. I want to know why I have classmates in school telling me that I'm their cousin and ain't nobody in my family talked about it. I want to know why my cousin Tammy was shipped off to go up north to stay with family, but when she got pregnant. Why? I want to know. We don't know, right? How can we heal if we don't talk about it? How can we heal if we don't talk about it? Case in point, I had a cousin, young cousin, that was violated by another cousin. Sibling children, first cousins. She was groomed from age 9 to age 14. I remember I stayed at my grandmother's house more than I stayed at home majority of the time. My cousin that this happened to, she lived in Chicago. And my uncle would always send her and her brother down south to Mississippi every summer. And I remember this cousin ended up moving to Chicago with my uncle. My uncle was going to help him find a job in Chicago. I remember hearing my aunt. I had an aunt that lived in the house with my grandmother. And, we could hear the whispering. Like I say, when we kids, we told to get out when the phone rings or when grown folks talking. But you can kind of put two and two together. I was a teenager at this time. I probably was about 14, 15 years old. And I would kind of like hear conversations that something had happened, but I didn't know to what degree it had happened. All I know is our cousins stopped coming to Mississippi. All I know is my two uncles stopped talking to each other. It was beef. Had no idea why there was beef. All I knew was this uncle didn't want to hear that uncle's name and how dare you and this, that, and the third. I never understood the details behind, or we were never talked to about the details behind it. All we knew were conversations start to have, like my grandmother called all the girls and start asking us, has cousin so-and-so ever touched you inappropriately before? Have you ever been, by yourself with cousin so-and-so? Has he ever said anything inappropriate to you? Like, we didn't know where these conversations were coming from. We were able to kind of put two and two together because we had kind of overheard phone conversations one-sided phone conversations, but not in-depth phone conversations. We just knew we were being questioned. And as teenagers, we're like, why are they asking us that? Like, why are they asking us this about cousin Pee Wee? You know, that's weird. We thought, never knew what really had taken place with our cousin in Chicago. We just knew she stopped coming around. It wasn't until I moved to Wisconsin. I hadn't talked to my cousin in years. And she ended up reaching out to me on Facebook. And she asked me, did I know? And was it ever talked about? And I said, did I know what? She said, did you know what happened to me? And I say, no, I don't know what happened to you. I say, I kind of know bits and pieces, but don't have a lot of information. I say it wasn't talked about a lot. She said, because I'm trying to understand, because I felt like the family turned against me. I felt like the family failed me. Nobody was talking about it. And you know how when we talk about grooming, he actually groomed her from age 9 to 14. She ended up getting pregnant at 14, and that's how the scandal came out. And she had to go to unalive the baby, the abortion, at the age of 14. And it wasn't until then that my uncle found out that something was wrong, because how is his baby girl pregnant at the age of 14? And she had to tell him, but she was scared to tell him because the cousin was telling her stuff like, well, we're not real cousins. And if you tell somebody, they're not going to believe you. They're just going to say you were fast anyway, and they won't believe you. And he told her that for years. And she believed that. But it wasn't until she ended up getting pregnant and she had to go to the doctor because she got sick. She did not know what was going on with her. My uncle didn't know what was going on. And at this time, my uncle had full custody of his kids. So imagine already having full custody of your kids and having to go through a custody battle with your ex for your children. And then your 14-year-old daughter comes up pregnant by your nephew. These are secrets that I'm saying that comes to haunt you in your adult life, because these are things that was not talked about in the family. It was brushed over. The adults may have talked about it to each other, but they didn't talk about it to us, the cousins. We didn't know the details of what happened. So here I am in my adult life having this conversation with my cousin, and she's asking me, do I know what happened to her? And did the family back home talk about it at all? What did they say? She said, I feel like, you all failed me because nobody reached out to me. I felt like I only had my dad. And I say, you know what? I say, I am so sorry that you felt like we failed you, but we did not know. Nobody talked to us about this. Can you imagine how devastating it is? Not only to her, she had to live it. I could only imagine what she had to go through. But just as cousins, not knowing why you stopped coming to Mississippi, or why did your dad and our uncle fall out with each other? Like, nobody talked about it. They swept it under the rug. And that same cousin still came around, but we just knew, don't sit in his lap. Don't be nowhere with him by yourself. Don't let him touch your daughters. And those are the only conversations. It's almost like, they tell you stuff without giving you feedback. And I know we say a lot of times with these kids today, they are, these new age kids these millennials, they ask questions. Well, why do you don't want me to do that? Or why can't I say this? Or why can't I go over there? And you kind of have to give them a little bit more details. But back in the day, we were too scared to ask why. We were too scared to say, well, can you tell me why I'm not supposed to go to Cousin Pee Wee's house or whatever the case may be? All we know is she changed. She changed and she told me, she said, that affected me so much. She said that affected my relationships. It affected me being able to have a relationship with any of my boyfriends. She said that traumatized me. I had to go to therapy. And, she had to talk about all, she shared with me all of these things that she had to actually deal with. She said, for a long time, I wouldn't even date anybody, and I thought something was wrong with me. And I blamed myself because I thought it was my fault. And I blamed myself because I felt like I should have said something sooner. But you know why I didn't say anything sooner? Because I felt like the family would blame me. I felt like I would be victim shamed. And it would have been my fault. So I didn't say anything. I didn't want to break up the family. See how that works? So everybody just shut up about it. Then when you come around, you wonder why it's this like unspoken silence in the room. Like, why ain't nobody talking? Nobody saying anything. This is why. All of these secrets that's going on in the family and nobody is talking about it. And we don't understand, why this cousin had a mental breakdown. Nobody talked about why. They just tell you, she went through a mental breakdown. Well, what caused it? Not even knowing that she had been violated by somebody in the family at that. Talk about it so we'll know how to heal and how to work through it. Don't just tell us, well, don't mention it outside of this household. If somebody asks you, don't say nothing about it. How is that resolving anything? How is it solving anything? It's only further taking those same generational curses now to her children, now into her relationships, now into her adult life. All of this stuff that she wasn't healed from in her childhood. And then we go into therapy and, we boo-hooing because I don't know why I feel this way. All I know is I feel like something happened in my family. It was unspoken. We don't know what's going on. Like how do I fix this? And in order for us to heal and fix what we're going through today, we're going to have to face the ugly truth. And we're going to have to go back, just like people search for their these family trees and all of this stuff. We're going to have to search through some of these family secrets to see like, okay, let me go back to the root so I can see how this stuff really affected me. We just carrying it from one to the next. Nobody is talking about it. And we holding in all of this trauma. And we wonder why we running around here about to lose our mind. Because we holding in all of this stuff. Healing takes time. And it's not about, confronting everybody, but it's about you confronting the truth within yourself. We got to confront the truth within ourselves. And guess what? I am sorry, Buttercup, if you feel like me going through my healing process is getting ready to shake up some stuff over at your house. Oh, well, because I'm going through my healing process for myself. And if for some reason your ish decides to pop up in the process, we talking about it and we are exposing it because I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to stop having to carry all of this stuff and I don't even know what's wrong with me. I can still honor my family and acknowledge that I've been hurt by some secrets. I can build a new legacy and not carry all of this dysfunction and all of these generational curses because with me and my children, we're going to be open with each other. We're going to hold each other accountable and our love is going to be rooted in truth. I talked to my girls. I made sure my girls had an open line of communication when it comes to them talking to me about stuff. If anybody was making you feel uncomfortable, if anybody in the family was touching you when they should not be touching you or where they should not be touching you, we have those conversations. You know why? Because we didn't have them when I was younger. We weren't able to ask questions. We didn't talk about the birds and the bees. We didn't talk about none of this stuff. It was spoken inside the house. It was not allowed to go outside of the house, and it was swept under the rug if they didn't want to hear about it. We ain't talking about that. We didn't have the opportunity to say, well, mama, why you don't want to talk about it? Or daddy, why we can't talk about it? It was always because I said so. We didn't challenge that. Our parents had the fear of God in us. When they say something, you work off what they said. We don't go back and try to challenge what they told us. We had to let it be, but it's not like we didn't always think about it. Like, okay, what you trying to hide? Because the thing about the process of healing, it's not about changing the past, because we can't change it, right? It's more so about us trying to free our future. Let us try to heal from the things that happened or the things that were said to us in our past so that we can free our future selves. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to do. Let's pause for a minute. Let's take a deep breath because this can get heavy. And think about this. What would happen if you stopped carrying the pain your family never healed from? What would listen at Alexa talking, child, telling me about the game. Let me let her stop talking. She's just going on talking about the game. What would happen if you stopped carrying the pain that your family never healed from? What would that kind of peace feel like? Just think about it. If we, in our adult lives right now, stopped carrying and holding on to the pain that our family never healed from. Because again, we're talking about these generational curses. This stuff has been passed down from generation to generations. What would happen if we stopped carrying the pain that our family never healed from? What would that peace feel like for us? Wouldn't that be amazing to let go some of this baggage? Wouldn't it be amazing? A question for you. Do you believe keeping family secrets protects or harms the family? 1 for protect, 2 for harm. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel like family secrets protect the family, or put a 2 in the chat if you feel like family secrets harm the family. And while you all are doing that, I am going to read some comments. Right, Danya. Danya said back in the day, we didn't question grown folks at all. At all. Mama V says that's where my family scandal was in Mississippi. Ooh, child. Hey, Bridget J. Bridget says, oh, that's so sad, praying for your cousin. Thank you so much, sis. It was a mess. It was a mess. And just imagine how many others there were. Just in the world, how many people are carrying harsh family secrets like that. Yes, Teresa, passing the curse from one to another. That's all it's doing. Thanks, Danya. Danya says, Pink Table Topics, girl, you are speaking truth to power. Thank you, sis. Hey, Cricket. Thanks for joining, sis. I appreciate you. Exactly, Danya. That's exactly what it was. Do as I say, not as I do. I agree, Teresa. We never challenged our parents, and they did have the fear of God in us. Listen, let me tell you. Absolutely. Deborah says, your story reminds me of the Braxton's family where the niece went through similar circumstances and she moved away because in her case, it seems like some of the family blamed her. Yeah, that's how it be, right, Bridget? That would be wonderful. Girlfriend Chronicle says, I think I would be more comfortable with knowing that I wasn't the cause of another's problems because I was in the same boat as them. Absolutely. Absolutely. MLC Capricorn says, I would need to be committed into the psych ward. Girl, you and me both. You hear me? Teresa says 2. That is harm. Pat. Hey, Pat. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. Pat says 2. Danya says 2. 2 for Mama V. 2 for Cricket. Sharon says 2. MLC Capricorn says 2. Bridget J says 2. Yes, Deborah, it harms the family and especially the person it happens to. Absolutely. Angela says 2. Hey, Melanin Beauty. Thanks for joining, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Teresa says you can sweep all the dirt under the rug, but the dirt will always be there until you clean it. Facts. Facts. It'll be there until you clean it. It'll be there till you clean it. I have a video to show you all about family secrets. Let me pull it up on the screen. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna let it start over. Give me just a second to let it start over and then I'll turn the volume up. But this skit was from Instagram. I saw this a while ago. And I went back today. I said, let me go find that video because it is spot on for the conversation that we are having tonight about family secrets. And, we just got to do better. And especially us as adults, it's up to us to decide that we will no longer carry these family secrets with us. It's up to us to stop the cycle. It starts with us. It's up to us to stop the cycle. We can't continue to hold this stuff because this stuff get heavy. And it can get so heavy that you could literally be about to lose your mind. And you just keep holding on to this stuff. So we got to talk about it. We really have to talk about this stuff. I think it's almost at the end, so I can start it at the beginning. And this is what happens when there are family secrets. Because they were about to get it in. I'm going to turn it on and then I'm going to let it start over.
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Baby. You know you got to pop that light, girl.
Now let it start over.
Beyonce. About that, like I said, let me tell you something. We're not going to do all of these years. I've been taking care of you. I've been sending her money every month, every week, every time she asks for something. When I was 16 years old, your grandmother took you from me and gave you to Angela. And you know what they did? They shipped me off. And they would never let me come back because, oh no, if Tony come back, she's going to tell Audrey, I'm your real mother, okay? All these years, don't sister me, my real mother. Reverend, you keep it secret. But an omission is a lie as well. You're in on this. I'm not doing this no more, okay? You're my daughter. You're my real daughter. You're my real daughter, Angela.
Right now?
You want to do my real daughter. Angela was just there to take care of you. They took you from me when I was 16. 16 years old.
You guys knew about this?
All of them knew, and they kept me from you. We are not going to do this here. We are not going to do this here. None of my sisters. Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we going to tell. Baby. You know you got to pop that light, girl. You got to pop that light, girl. I made these shoes. I'm about it. About what? Right. Beyonce. About that, like I said, let me tell you something. We're not going to do all these years. I've been taking care of you. I've been sending her money every month, every week, every time she asks for something.
Ooh, child. Let me remove this off my screen. Ain't that something? She was taken from her mom when her mom was 16. So apparently her mom had her at 16 and another one of the aunts raised her, but she had actually been the one taking care of her financially, sending her money. And in this particular situation here, they were actually at a funeral of another family member. And you know how it is when emotions get high and you tired of the lying, and everybody else knew. This is what I'm saying. Everybody else knew but the person involved. Everybody else already knew about it. This is what we're saying when we talk about things that build. And can you just imagine how everybody knowing, everybody else in the family knowing about a secret that involved you, but you didn't know about it, and this was kept from you? Can you just imagine how devastating that is, to be the product of a secret that everybody in the family knew? Like, we coming around to family reunions, Sunday dinner, we hanging out, and I'm calling my cousins, my siblings' cousins, when they actually my siblings. And then the family members want to fight. Why you want to fight? Because of the truth. This is the truth. But do you understand? And I can understand how now we're at the point of, I'm trying to let this out. I'm trying to heal. I'm tired of hiding it. And we're about to talk about this. This kid is of age now, and we're about to let it all out. But see how the emotions can get high. This is what I'm saying. Like, nobody wants to address the elephant in the room. They don't want to talk about it. They want to continue this whole cycle. They want to continue us basically manipulating the situation, and you only want to talk about it when you want to talk about it. So if it's not a good time now, when is a good time? It's never a good time to face the truth. When it's a secret that you want to hide, it ain't gonna never be a good time. So how much longer do we have to continue carrying this baggage because the family don't want to address it? I'm looking for answers. And the thing about it is, if I'm trying to go through my healing process, if I'm trying to heal, how can I heal if I can't face the truth? I got to have some truth to even get to a healing space. So are you meaning to tell me that out of the loyalty of the family, I need to just stay quiet? Don't try to work on your healing. Just stay quiet because, it's the family. We don't want people in the business, and people, people at the church going to be looking at us sideways, or people in the community going to be talking about us. So we ain't got to do this right now. You know what? A lot of our ancestors are dead and gone, and secrets are still running from generation to generation because none of this stuff was addressed. Ain't nobody talked about it. Did nobody try to work on it? Did nobody try to fix it? And it's still going from one to the next. That's just like my mom, my aunts, my mom's siblings. Some of them had issues with each other, didn't talk to each other, or what have you. Me and my cousins a few years ago was trying to do like a cousins reunion. We haven't on that side haven't had a family reunion in years, since my grandmother passed away. Because we all know the grannies were the anchor of the family. And when she said, I want the family together, the family got together. Then when they pass away, it's up to the siblings to keep it going. But the siblings then, because they were at odds with each other. So my cousins and I were trying to get together and have a siblings reunion. We were going to meet in Memphis to have not a siblings reunion, a cousins reunion. And some of the cousins, a couple of our cousins, their mom didn't want them to come because their mom still had beef with our moms. And because of their beef with our moms, they didn't have the opportunity to have a good relationship with us, right? And this is what I'm saying when we are talking about like these family issues and this family drama and trauma. A lot of this stuff is not even our paw to bear, because this is not even our fight. This was from our ancestors or our parents. This is their beef that has now spilled over into the generation of the cousins, the kids of the siblings that were fighting. And now we got to carry this stuff. And I don't understand why cousin Marley don't like me, or why cousin Marley was never allowed to come to our house. And that's because her mom and my mom had beef, so we couldn't even have a close cousin relationship because of the drama that was the dysfunction that was going on between the siblings, because her mama and my mama had the same little sneaky link or whatever the case may be, and they fell out with each other, and now it's drama in the family. It's always something, and it carries over from generation to generation. And if we don't never talk about it, how are we expecting to heal ourselves from the stuff that we've gone through? And a lot of times, yes, it does look like loyalty, where I don't want to bring public shame to the family. And just imagine, like, some of this stuff happened to some of us when we were young, right? Teenagers. We were young kids. And we've carried this stuff from teenagers to the age we are now. And now, when we're in a space to where we're seeking peace, because we want to try to, clean out some of this dysfunction, and we really want to get to a mental state of where, okay, I'm wiping out all of this trauma. However I got to release it, I'm going to release it. And then you start going to therapy and all of this stuff come up, and you wondering, like, where is this stuff coming from? Or why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? And why was this stuff never addressed? Because I know I can speak for me. I'm going through some stuff now that, I'm really at a point to where I told y'all about the whole family tree, how you research the family tree to try to see who your relatives are. I'm researching the family tree to try to see where some of this trauma came from, and where some of this mess and how it started, and why it just went from generation to generation, because it had to start somewhere. I'm trying to do a root cause analysis to get down to the root of where this stuff started from, so that we can try to break this cycle. And I'm just looking back over people. And when we talk about secrets, I had an uncle that passed away many years ago. My uncle was married, and he only had the 2 kids we knew he had. But the day of his funeral, we were at his repast. It was a knock on the door. I remember we were at one of my aunt's house. We had the repast at one of my aunt's house. The family was all there. We had just came from the funeral, and we got a knock on the door. Went and opened the door because we thought, how people were bringing food over for the family and all of this kind of stuff. Got a knock on the door. Opened the door. Girl, when I say we were spooked, and it was almost like we had seen a ghost, because when my auntie opened that door, and that boy that was standing on the other side of the door was a split image of the uncle we had just buried. You hear me? Split. There was no denying him if you wanted to deny him. We had no idea my uncle had another kid. No idea that he had another kid until the day of his funeral. And when he came to the door. He said, I just wanted to meet my daddy's other siblings and my cousins. And when he started to tell us, like, he was like, my dad was always in my life. He always, spent time with me. We trying to say, like, well, where did you come from? And come to find out, my uncle was very active in his life. But his wife and his other siblings didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't even know he existed. So he had a whole secret family that he was taking. You see how secrets just bring themselves back? Like, you can be dead and gone. These secrets are going to find you. So you may as well address it and go ahead and face it head on and deal with it, so that the family isn't left trying to put these pieces together when you're no longer in the picture. To me, that's selfish. Don't take nothing to the grave that's going to indirectly affect me when you're gone. Let's address it so that we can work toward healing from it. Because can you imagine having to continue carrying that stuff and you ain't even here for me to discuss about it? Like, I may want to slap you, but I can't slap you because you ain't here. This is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of trauma. And here this boy is. He only meeting his other side of the family at his daddy's funeral, but feeling a certain kind of way and feeling like he was cheated out of a relationship with his other siblings. You see how that can go? All because it wasn't a conversation and all because you tried to keep your indiscretions hidden. Those indiscretions got a way of finding their way out from up under that rug, no matter how long. One thing about it, what you reap, you gonna sow, be it good or bad. And what's done in the dark, as soon as you flip that light switch on, everybody gonna see it. So you may as well go ahead and address it. You may as well go ahead and let it out. You can only hide it for so long. All of this trauma that people are trying to heal from, a lot of this stuff stems from childhood. A lot of people are going through life like, I don't even know how to properly love because I wasn't loved properly when I was little. I don't even know how to hold exchange dialogue, healthy dialogue, because it wasn't exchanged in my household when I was growing up. It's just like I wasn't made to eat vegetables when I was little, so I don't eat vegetables now. You see how the stuff that happens in your childhood grows into who you are as an adult today? I don't know how to talk about the birds and the bees to my girls because it wasn't talked to me. Unless you choose to be the one to break that cycle and say, because it wasn't talked about to me, I'm going to make it my business to making sure I open that platform for my daughters. I'm going to have that open line of communication for mine. We're going to have these conversations. I want my kids to feel like they can come to me and talk to me about anything. I may not like the conversation. It may be a hard conversation, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to break this cycle. We don't want secrets. I don't want to find out something years down the road and understand that my kids had to carry this stuff for years and years and years because I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to hear it. We swept it under the rug. Guess what? We ain't talk about the birds and the bees. I was a teen mom because we ain't talk about the birds and the bees. Ain't nobody tell me. I didn't know that all I had to do was have unprotected sex one time and I would get pregnant. I didn't talk about the birds or the bees, wasn't talked about in my household. All I was told was by my grandmama, if you kiss a boy, you get pregnant. It's just certain stuff we didn't talk about. Certain traumas we didn't talk about. We grew up in a situation to where the girls were taught wherever you see a man, you go the opposite direction. They never addressed the fact that the man shouldn't have been looking at us in the first place. It's just you go over there. If they inside, you go outside. If they outside, you come inside. Or don't be fast around these men, or don't wear tight skirts, don't wear tight pants, don't wear the tight shirts, or whatever the case may be. Constantly having to stay covered and hidden because they don't want the men looking at you a certain kind of way. Nobody addressed the men. We were told we were being fast. Nobody told the men that they had no business looking at underage girls. See how messed up our cultural families are? Because there's so many backwards teachings and it's so much. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to address this. We're just going to be mad about it, but we're not going to have a conversation about it. And nothing is ever resolved. And then it's just trauma, trauma, trauma. Nobody addresses the family members that dealt with mental illness. We didn't talk about why Aunt Minnie was schizophrenic. And then in our adult life, we start having conversations like, was she always like that? Well, when did you notice something was wrong? Like, we're the ones that are having to have the conversation. Like, it's just not normal. When we're looking back at some of this stuff and some of this family stuff that's being dug up, we're looking like, well, that's not normal. Like, did you have a conversation about it? Like, did y'all ask? And the answer is no, we didn't talk about it. We didn't address it. I just had a conversation with another one of my aunts a couple weeks ago, and she was sharing how she was an adult and found out her biological father. The man she grew up thinking was her father was not her biological father. And she remembered how she would be places and people would be calling her, some of the girls that she grew up with, thinking that they were just, classmates or good friends, were calling her cousin. And some of their kids were calling her aunt. And she said, I didn't think nothing about it because a lot of the little kids in my area called me aunt. She said, I had no idea that they were telling me that because I was their aunt for real. And these were my siblings for real. She said, and I remember she had to go to my granny and ask her, like, is this man my daddy? Because why do they keep telling me that I'm their sibling? Or they keep calling me aunt? Like, is this man my daddy? All of these years, my aunt, and I think she was like in her 50s. When she found out who her biological father is, and all of these years, the rumors had been all over the community. But guess what? Did nobody ever address those rumors? She said she did remember that my grandma and that man's wife did have a fight. I can't picture my granny having a fight. She said, I remember they had a fight. She said, but mama never told us why she was fighting that lady. And that lady was fighting her because she knew my granny had a baby by her husband. And I was sitting there like, oh, granny did that? But just look at that conversation. I had an uncle that was dating his half sister and had no idea. They were dating. And I remember he told me, he said, I thank God that all we did was kiss before we found out that we were actually siblings. And my aunt was having a conversation because I'm going through a process of my aunt, my only living aunt on my dad's side. She and I talk almost every day. And I'm having segments with her, therapy segments, I'm calling it, because I'm asking her questions from childhood and from way back down the family tree. I'm asking her questions and she's able to, help me put the pieces of the puzzle together so I can understand, a lot of this family stuff and a lot of stuff that was going on in the family. So if you have an aunt or uncle or anybody that's still living that you feel really, really close to and that they can give you some answers, if that's where you got to go to get some answers, go get some answers because it's so freeing. It has been so invigorating to have these conversations with her and to be able to find out stuff that I had no idea that took place, but it's also helping me understand a lot of the family secrets, a lot of the unspoken secrets that were a part of the family, a lot of these generational curses, a lot of these family beefs that were taking place, like these conversations with her. And I'm journaling about it. I have my notepad and my pen when she's talking, or I'm voice recording as she's talking so I can go back and listen to the stuff. And when I say she's been giving me a history lesson of some stuff, I mean some stuff that has really, and some of the siblings are no longer living, but the fact that she is, educating me and, helping me unpack some of this stuff and learn some stuff. Oh my goodness. SKR says, oh Lord, I got a story of extended family secrets. It would be too long to type. I'll drop the link so you can come up, sis. Please feel free to come up and share. Anybody that have a story on a family secret that you would like to share, please feel free. Or if you have a situation where you're going through your healing process and you would like to share how you got to the point of being able to heal and talk about it, if that meant you went to therapy or whatever the case may be, feel free. Feel free. SK Aura is here. Hey, sis.
Hey, hey, thank you for having me up. And hey, ladies in the chat, love y'all.
We love you too. Thanks for coming up. How are you?
I am doing well. And this is such a great topic because I wanted to actually, talk about things because we were talking about family secrets over on Chit Chat channel. And, we just, it's things about, we talk about how the past was so this and so that. But don't you know those people were really getting down back then?
Girl.
And it's like, how y'all all so holy and sanctified now, but y'all was doing some stuff back in them towns back in the day. Y'all was in the streets.
Girl,
y'all was doing the do.
The stuff that I found out about my granny, and I'm finding out that ain't none of her kids got the same daddies. Girl, I
Thank you.
Granny ain't even here. Rest in peace, Granny. I love you so much, but Granny was outside.
But wasn't she the one telling you that you couldn't your skirts and all that stuff?
She was the one and was very strict. My granny did not play that kind of stuff. She was so strict on us.
So why was she, being that way towards you, but she, towards y'all, the girls in the family, but then here y'all, here she is. I can see maybe she didn't want y'all to make the same mistakes that she has made in life. But to condemn you like that?
Danya said Granny was a 304.
Yes. I mean, it's just like the stories. I sat there and let my listen to my mom and aunts, and the way that they came from this little town and everybody was just getting down. So-and-so had a baby by Mr. So-and-so husband. Her husband would go to work and Mr. So-and-so would come in the house in the back door and Mr. So-and-so thought that was his son, but it wasn't until, he passed away. They found out that wasn't his son. I'm like, what the hell is going on
around here? It was a mess. I remember when I was a little girl, and I used to stay at my grandma's house while my parents were at work. And it was a neighbor across the street would always wait until my auntie, because my auntie was the live-in aunt to my grandmother. Every time she'd go to work, that man would sneak across the street. And I remember one time my granny had told me to go outside and play, but I had to come in the house because I had to use the bathroom. Girl, and I heard them. I didn't see them, but I heard some stuff going on. You think I said something? Absolutely not. But I never looked at Granny the same. And every time she used to try to tell me, I'd be like, "Nah, Granny."
Yeah. It's like, it's a thing to say, things that you don't, so you want us, younger generation to, not follow in the same footsteps, but to sit there and like condemn you and have their nose all stuck up in the air and twisted mouth for if you did make a mistake. And it's just like, wait a minute, ain't you the product of an affair? And then didn't you have, I mean, it's just my grandmother, she's the product of an affair. So that means my grandpa came over there and her mama was married. So it's like, come on now. Y'all can't act like y'all can't be just doing all of this, going up in the church and, got your little church fan and your church towel over your legs and looking all upside our heads when y'all was the main ones out here doing the stuff. Like everybody right now, these are my second cousins. I have the story is that there was a husband and a wife, and then the sister came to live with them. Well, every time the wife came up pregnant, the sister came up pregnant. They were having kids at the same time. Well, it wasn't until years later the husband was impregnating both of them. The sister was sleeping with the husband. and not out of fear or anything, just because she was sleeping with the husband. Don't you know? This was a couple of years, maybe 3 years ago. There was a big fight at the funeral of one of the aunts because the other set of kids, they didn't know that they were sisters and brothers, and they found out, and it was a big old hooroo at that funeral.
Oh, child.
Because they found out that they wasn't cousins, they were sisters and brothers. Every time the aunt had a baby, every time
Your volume went off, sis.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. But all of those siblings are, all those kids are siblings. They're not cousins. Well, I guess they're half cousins, half siblings. But that's what it was. He was sleeping with both of them. He would go and tiptoe on up into the sister's room and have her. And it's just like, how did you not know that your sister was coming up pregnant? Where you think she was going? I mean, she was living with you. You didn't see no man coming around. Where did you had to know that your sister was, every time you come up pregnant, she came up pregnant. But those kids are now, it is strife with that that side of the family, those groups of kids, because they are upset. And it's like, no, y'all can't be mad at each other. Those were something that the adults had problems with. Y'all don't get mad at each other. And but they are to this day angry with each other. And it's just sad. And when it was all the parents doing.
It was. And that's what, again, this goes back to, like, how do we heal when we're carrying something from our ancestors, our parents, and as early as grandmothers, not even great grandmothers. And to your point, when you were saying, how was my granny addressing me in the manner when she was way worse? And I think it was out of guilt, because she knew what she had done and the life she had lived. And instead of, having open dialogue and just, real raw conversation and just saying, this is what happened when you behave this way. Look at me. I'm the product of having, 8 kids with 8 different baby daddies and all of this kind of stuff. And, and we didn't know it. And I think they just, but out of shame, they won't talk about the stuff. They'll push it under the rug. But it's almost like they mad at you because you're either not going down that same cycle, or they don't know how to actually address you to prevent you from doing it, and just have open conversation about it, and just, tell me, instead of just making me feel like I'm doing something wrong. Or coming at me, in a mean sense of disciplinary action, and well, don't do this and don't do that, or don't wear short skirts and wear this and wear that. Like, if you address the situation differently, I more than likely would make sure I did not go down that path. But to be to me, I think it's called, and yes, and my granny was in the church every Sunday, every Tuesday, Thursday, and every time the doors of the church open. But this is and this is what happened. Like, we be all of this, but then we have a life that wasn't so pleasing, and have the audacity to make us feel like it's our fault, like we carrying this stuff from generation to generation. So I understand exactly where you're coming from.
And I didn't know that women back in the day, they were scrappers back then. It's like they were fighting them women. If my grandpa was out at the other woman's house, my grandma was on the stairs. It's like on that lady porch. So it's like this stuff repeats itself. And it's like we acting like this stuff is brand new. No, this stuff ain't brand new. This stuff repeats itself, and it happened way back then in that generation that we glorify. That is such they're revered as these type of people. The olden days and how our grannies and great grandparents used to do. Those people was out there doing the damn thing. They were out there fighting for equality, and then they were fighting amongst themselves. Trying to being with this husband, being with this wife, and everything else. It was a bunch of stuff going on, and it's like, where do you get the audacity to, condemn me when you got all of this, history going on? It's like you can't. I guess you think if you go to church every day, that's gonna absolve your sins of what you used to do, but we ain't gonna forget. Your stuff is right here in front of our face. Why you sitting up here acting like we the worst things ever when you was out here doing stuff? I couldn't believe this in that little town what these folks was doing.
Girl,
I mean,
you be trying to understand. Now, how did you not know when the town is so small and you can walk from one street to the next? Like, that's just how big is yay big. So how is it that you had no idea that this was going on? And like you say, I think they got to a point to where they felt like they could hide their sins by running to the church. Like nobody will know, but people be knowing. And the fact that you had this whole like secret life going on, and it's almost like they were prejudging us for their
yes.
sins because of their sins. Like they were trying to hold us accountable for the things that they were doing. Girlfriend Chronicles, sis, I saw that you were up here and you fell down. I'll put the link back in the chat for you. But
I tell you, it's amazing to me, and I want these old folks to stop acting like they is so high in sedity when they was out there running them streets. And you just can't. It's talk to me. Don't sit up here and condemn me and batter me down. Talk to me and just let me know what things are and say, baby, these men's out here ain't nothing. Baby, let me tell you about myself. But I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for the Lord being on my side, I don't know where I would be. That's all you gotta say. You ain't got to do all this. Sit your ass down. You ain't got no business doing all this. I'm like, why are you talking to me like this when you need to be somewhere sitting down?
Or we thank God we don't look like what we've been through, right?
But I just wanted to come up and just say my little old piece, and I'm gonna drop back down into the into the chat and everything. But I just had to talk about that because I want to talk about the old days and how these folks was doing their darn thing back in the day.
And just like now, we talk about we done had our 304 phases, right? So we share that with I done told my daughters, like, I was outside. I had a little phase that I was outside. And we talk about it, and we're able to, laugh about it, and then also share with them, like, don't make the mistakes that I made or whatever. But in your defense, like what our ancestors, our grandmothers and stuff were saying, they were coming off, like you said, like they were like all holier than thou. Like, I made no mistakes. I didn't sin and all of this kind, like I was picture perfect. But then, here we are in our adult life. I had no idea that all of my uncles and aunties did not have the same daddy. And I was like, now, Granny, you was, girl.
What happened? What happened? But they want to take all that stuff to the grave, and a lot of them do. And so you have this perfect image of them. But when they really got down, they really was about that life. And I'm like, wait a minute, you got some explaining to do. You got to come up out that grave and tell some stuff. Because I mean, you really was about that life, and you gonna sit up here and no, ma'am, Sam, you got some explaining to do.
Girl, they was hiding and biting for real. They made the words, and we sitting. And this is again what we always say: history repeats itself.
Yes, so it's like it's nothing new. It is nothing new. Matter of fact, I wanted to share with you and Chit Chat. There was a documentary of back in the 60s where they were talking about the Black community, things that was going on in the Black community. And when I tell you the same stuff that we are talking about within the Black community, as far as, marriages, men and women, welfare, all that type of stuff, it's the same. It was the same way back then. And we're thinking that this is just this strife between Black men and Black women is just, happening now. No, it was going on back then, and they were talking about it. And it's such a great documentary of a piece of what, they just talking about how the whole welfare system has broken up the Black family, and why did it happen, and women working and taking care of the family. We were doing it back then too. This whole golden vision that we have of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, that vision, I'm like, we need to stop thinking like that. It was not a golden era, because these people was getting down, they were doing their thing, and it was happening back then. It's just, it's not brand new, but we think it's brand new. It's not.
I totally agree. And thank you so much. Hey, girlfriend, and my sister's here, chit chat with QT. Hey, y'all.
I'm gonna drop down and go on back to the chat. Thank you so much for having me up, because I feel so much better since I got this off my chest.
Thank you for joining. And thank you to my sister Teresa for the Cash App. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. Hey, y'all. Hey, Girlfriend Chronicles and Chit Chat. Thanks for joining me.
For having me.
How y'all doing?
I'm good.
How are you?
I am good, girl. It's been a Tuesday. You hear me?
For real. You hear me?
Thank you for joining. Hey, girlfriend, what you got to share, sis?
So I guess I'm going to be on the opposite side of this of the spectrum in regards to this topic.
Okay.
Because I am a product of two parents who were married to other people.
Okay.
My mom was a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a truck driver. My mom was separated though. And again, she was a nurse. My dad got hurt, and she was his nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Never said anything. He was living in our city, our hometown. Never said anything about a family down back in Mississippi. Never said a word of being married or anything. So my mom and him were together. Hence, here I am. I didn't know that I had a different father than my two older sisters. When I found out that I had a different father, I was at home with the chicken pox, and this man comes to the door. I'm looking like, okay, he kind of favored me, but who is he? And why is he at my mama's house? Didn't know who he was at all. It was never told to me that I had a different father. And he was like, I told your mama I was gonna stop by, but she told me I needed to wait till she got off. And I was like, okay. And you are? And he was like, well, I'll wait till she get here. Call my mom, let her know somebody was at the door, and she said, "Told that ninja don't come by there until I got home." And I was like, okay. She said, I'm on my way. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh man, I'm about to be in trouble. And that's how I found out that he was my father.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 8th grade. High school, 10th grade or so, I was at a store, saw a female that looked like me, didn't know who she was, and ended up being my sister. And she came over to me and she asked me what was my name. I didn't know I had other siblings. My dad never said I had older brother, older sister, and a younger brother. Never told me while we were, within those 2 years. Mind you, he's back in Mississippi with his family. Got to know my sister, hung out with her, very close. My brother eventually moved up to Pennsylvania, got to be real close with him. My baby brother cannot stand me. He felt as though what my dad wasn't doing for them, he was doing for me. I didn't get any anything, special, or never got anything really from him. Here and there, things, but never. My dad was a Rolling Stone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so taking care of other women and their kids and things like that. Come to find out, um, I didn't know a lot of things in regards to how my parents met until both of them had passed. When I went down to my father, my mom passed first. Never, I never really asked questions or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess out of respect. My mom was a minister later on in life. My dad was a minister later on in life. So that, going back to the church, as someone said, I think SKR said, to dissolve them of their sins. But, you know, everyone has sinned and fallen short. So,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. But um, as when I went to my dad's funeral, being around family, I felt ostracized. I felt like the black sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was being looked at like, oh, that's the child, that's, just, just being talked about. Um, Someone asked me how dare I walk in with the family.
Wow.
Um,
Mm.
it was, I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt cheated. I felt mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, I felt I felt cheated because I didn't get to have that relationship with my dad that they had. I felt
Mm-hmm.
isolated because people heard of me but didn't know me, and I look more like my dad than my siblings do. um, I remember the first time I met when I moved down to North Carolina, my first time ever going to Mississippi to be around family, um, and only stayed probably a day. My dad took me around his wife's because he still stayed married until he passed. His wife's side of the family, for what reason, I don't know. I think he was just trying to introduce me. And his wife's sister said, "Oh, this the daughter of that 304 who
Man.
with my sister."
Mm. Mm.
And I was 28, she's probably in her 40s or so, whatever. I'm not sure, probably. Um, and she was a BI and everything else under the sun. I called my mother, told her what she said. My mom told my dad, put me back on the first thing smoking because she don't stay around no mess that you don't control, that you don't fix, and that you don't speak on. My daughter
You
should
were 28 at the
defend
time?
herself. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You were 28 at the time?
I was 28,
And you
and
didn't put
Girl,
that
you could have fought.
oh,
baby.
oh, and you think I was look being held back because, like I said, she was everything under the sun. I didn't care who she was. That was my sibling's aunt. But you disrespected my mother, and I let her know you disrespected my mother. I don't do that. I don't look. I'm the fighter of I'm the scrapper of my family. I'm the baby girl. I will all and everybody. But she knew, and my dad knew. Uh, she ain't the one to mess with. And yeah, let me get her up out of here because we're gonna be on Action 9 News, on CNN, ID channel, and everything else. She needs to come up from out down there. I just felt at his funeral. I felt walking in. Um, Before I get to there, while you're going through the family gatherings before the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Um, they had a fish fry, and family was there, and everybody was, asking who I was and having little conversations around me and things like that. And it just felt, I didn't feel dirty. I just felt dark. I
Mm-hmm.
felt alone. Like I said, I felt alone. I felt isolated. And then I was hearing the stories of my dad. Never telling my mom that he was married, and a guy that was sitting next to me, he said, your dad came to see you when you were born, and he held you. And I told him, I was sitting out in the car, and he said he was going to see his daughter, and I told him, you better tell her that you got a family and a wife and blah blah blah. And he was like, I will. I don't know when it was ever told to my mom. Like I said, I didn't know until 8th grade, but he, didn't let her know. So
Mhm.
just being around, like, that's when I heard about me and them and things like that when they both were gone. So I could never question or ask anything.
Mm.
I didn't know. And then also staying in my place, knowing that, I'm a child, even as an adult, I still had that respect for my mom to not ask. Um, I don't know. I just, it was hard dealing with coming back, um, hearing people talk about me, um, people feeling like I wasn't family. How dare I be sitting up there with the family? I cried so hard because I didn't get the relationship that I felt I deserved from my father, um, because I wasn't close with him. And I think that has built my character in regards to my relationships, whereas
Mm.
I get close, but then I kind of isolate myself when I'm not getting the attention that I feel I deserve. So
Mm.
I do, I do see a pattern in my own life
Mm.
because
Mm.
I'll get somebody 4 years. I think that's my, I give somebody 4 years and that's it. And that's 4 years too many when, um, when, and it may be going great, but I still will back up after 4 years. I give someone 4 years max. And if it's not where, if I felt any time in that relationship that anything had went awry, or I felt isolated, or I felt cheated, or I felt um, misunderstood, or just neglected, it's a done deal. So
Mm.
I did go to counseling after my mom passed, um, just for to get to realize, figure out who I was. Like I said, trying to understand
Mhm.
my life and how I came about, and how my my aunts and uncles didn't know that I had a different father than my sisters until my dad passed.
Mm.
So yeah, those things, you know, again, now I'm being talked about on my mom's side of the family. So it was
Mhm.
a rough period, but you know, I'm getting I'm good now, but I still,
Mhm.
with relationships with family, it's whatever. But with relationships, I still see that
Still struggle.
that that I have, that wall I have up.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Well, first
that's
of
my
all,
story.
I want to just thank you, first of all, for your courage, because what you shared, I know, took strength. There are so many people that carry that same kind of pain and silence, and you just gave a voice to something that a lot of hearts still haven't healed from. And that's what tonight is all about. And I want you to know that even though you were labeled or looked at as the outside child, that never made you less worthy of love. It never made you less worthy of belonging or acknowledgement. What happened was not your fault, and it never defined your value, because sometimes adults make choices that children have to live with, and that's unfair.
Right.
You didn't ask for that situation, yet you had to carry the weight of that situation. But the beautiful thing is, you are part of a bigger story, and your life is proof that rejection doesn't always have the final say. You may not have received the love that you wanted or deserved from your father or his side of the family, but that doesn't mean you weren't loved, right? God has a way of surrounding us with chosen family, people who see us, people who value us, and people who remind us that we do belong. And I want you to hold on to this, that being born outside of somebody else's plan does not mean you were outside of God's plan. You are here on purpose, with purpose, and you are more than the pain that tried to silence you. So your transparency tonight is healing. That's healing for people, not just for you, But for somebody else who may be watching, who's finally realizing that, hey, I'm not alone. I feel that same way. So you just turned your pain into power. And that's something to be proud of. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
You. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Hey, sis. Hey, sis.
Hey, I share the same sentiments when it comes to Girlfriend Chronicles because I can still hear a little sadness in your voice, but I totally agree with Pink Diva. It's not your fault. And I have to go back and start from the beginning. I was at the dentist, but the weight of secrets, period, and family, especially, that's not our burden to carry. You know what I mean? And I agree. It took courage and strength and all of the above, girlfriend. And if I'm not mistaken, you shared some of this in the past. You went into a little more detail today. But the strength that it took, you know, amazing, amazing. I hope you feel lighter. I hope child, wish I would have known you back then when the 40-year-old saying something to the 20-year-old.
Girl, we pull it up.
It would have been on and popping. That's all I gotta say. But even that, it appears that you handled that the right way. But look, don't continue to carry that. The aunts, the family members, or you grown now. On that side, whoever does not want to share the beauty of you, let them be. Let them be. We have to, and I told you guys before, as far as cutting off a sister to a certain extent, don't talk to her and all of that, still love her. But look, we got to start acknowledging pain and realizing that we don't have to carry that with us, So I hope that with you sharing, and I hope it's not the last time that you share. That's why I never really uh, um, fed into the whole Miles Morales dump on as far as how he was conceived. You know what I mean? Because he's innocent, had nothing to do with nothing. He's here, not his fault, and it is what it is. So again, I hope that you continue to share your story to help any other girl, young teen, woman that's dealing with some of this same shame that they're carrying around for nothing. It's not your fault. Not your fault at all, And look, forgiveness is for you, not for anybody else. Forgive them and keep it moving for yourself, you know. But I also want to say, look, child, I don't know what I walked in on, but SKR had me sprinkling holy water, child. Went and grabbed my sage. I'm like, are we roasting? What's going on over here? Give me a briefing and then I can comment.
Before you continue chit chat, thank you all.
You're welcome. I love you, sis.
I love you both. Thank you, Pink Diva. Because definitely, I did not cry this time. Yes, a little bit sadness, but I didn't cry. So I do feel, and I appreciate the sister circle. No, I didn't make it to Vegas, but I will be in Jamaica. That's my 5th time in the same year going. I will be there. Definitely. I appreciate the sister circle and the support that you always all have, uplifting one another, each other, us, me. So thank you all for the kind words and encouragement and prayers that's in the chat. Thank you.
You are welcome, sis. We love you. We missed you in Vegas, and we can't wait to have you with us in Jamaica for sure. For sure. But sis, we were talking about family secrets, and I was sharing how I have been talking really closely with my only living aunt that I have left back home in Mississippi on my dad's side. And she has been sharing with me like some of the family secrets, because I've been asking her questions and I've been journaling about what she's been telling me, and I've been finding out stuff that I did not know about. And I am today years old that I found out that my granny had 8 different baby daddies. My granny got 8 children. My daddy got 8 children. I had no idea. that they had different baby daddies, that she had different baby daddies. But my granny was super strict on us. She was always telling us, you being too fast, your skirt too short, your pants too tight. But she never told us like, well, granny, why you so mean? Or granny, why you so strict? Or she never told us. And it was because she had her own secrets from how she was outside. And so that's what SKR say, see, it be them. So that's where that came from, because SKR basically saying it's because of them, and it's just like history repeating itself. Like history repeats itself all the time. So SKR basically was saying, you know, a lot of the things that a lot of the girls and boys and, you know, how we were doing in our generation is a lot of this stuff is recycled stuff, and our grandparents used to do the same stuff. So SKR just wanted to call the ancestors out, child.
I didn't know what was happening. I said, "Woo child, woo child." But look, since you know we share a lot of similarities of different things, and look, I just learned, I would say 2 years ago, my cousin is a cutie, and you know, so she subscribed, and yeah, I learned the same thing about my grandmother. And child, I don't know if my sister in the bushes, but she picked up that trait. Well, no, she only has. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. I have to say that she only has one kid. But yeah, I found out the same. Now, growing up, I realized that my mom had a different last name. Her sister had a different last name. Her brother had a different last name, and it was. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. 6 of them. You know. But if I can just touch on briefly anger and ancestors, you know, which would translate to what you're saying, you know, as far as your grandmother or maybe even our moms. You know, I remember one of my neighbors was very upset because his dad never said, I love you, I love you, I love you. My parents were, I had to pull it up out of them, you know. And I think that we must remember that they didn't even have an opportunity to learn what love was and share that love with the kids that they bore and all of that because of slavery and things like that. I think that although we know that these parents can be extra strict when it comes to us, I just think on the outside looking in that could be because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made. You know, they carried it to their grave, but SKR talking about rumbling bones, from the child, you know, but they carried a lot of their secrets to the grave. That definitely don't make it right. But I do think that a lot of that comes from the shame that they've carried themselves, and that was their only way of trying to prevent us making some of the same mistakes. You know what I mean? Granny didn't mean no harm. Granny didn't, you know, had you wearing them long skirts, child, and you know, okay.
Granny was outside.
Granny was outside, mask too, and I just learned. Now that's on my mama's side.
Girl, we were too, and I had my mouth open. I was like, Granny. And then when we started going back, I said, you know what? You're right. They all do have different daddies.
That's your dad's sister.
Yes, that's my daddy's side.
About his mom.
Yep.
Not yours. Okay. Yeah, and I ain't heard nothing about my big mom on my daddy's side. Please, Lord, I can't take it because
I ain't heard nothing but good things about my granny on my mom's side, but my daddy's side, which were the ones we were around the most because they lived in separate cities, and we lived in the city with my grandmother on my dad's side, so we were able to. So we grew up with her, but again, a lot of the stuff we didn't know. Like we didn't know, and my aunt was telling me that she found out at age like 50 something that the guy was her dad, of who her biological father was. She grew up thinking one person was her father, but she would be at school with her friends and stuff, and they would always be calling her sister, and their kids would be calling her niece. I mean, aunt, and she was trying to find out like why they keep calling me that, thinking that maybe they just call me that because how sometimes we call each other sister. And she went back home and she asked my granny. She say, "Why do they keep telling me or calling me their sister? Is that man my daddy?" And she finally, admitted that after, his other kids had already been telling her, like it was almost like their side of her dad's side of the family, like his other kids, they knew, but my grandmother had never told her.
And see, that's where it gets tricky. And Deborah, yes, that's exactly what I said. It's definitely from shame and trying to protect. But when it comes to, somebody else being the daddy, and that guy most likely have other kids and all of that, and if everybody living in the same town, that can get tricky. You know what I mean? So I think for things like that, you absolutely have to put that shame to the side, because that daughter could end up with her brother. You know what I mean, or something like that. But I don't know. It's some things I'm gonna take to the grave when it comes to myself. Well, I can't say too much of that now, the way we talk as far as the cutie crew. But I didn't expect my mom to say everything. You know what I mean? And like I said, we cannot forget the era that they came from. The shame and SKR is right. These men, especially back then, Papa was really a rolling stone. And that stone sometimes landed down the block or the next block. He had kids on families really every other block. Even though I know that no one is blaming their ancestors, I got to do a check on my sis SKR. You know what I mean? I think as with anything, we must always try to look at it from that time and then extend grace.
Absolutely.
That mean no harm.
And I totally agree. And and then we also have to understand that it was more so in the delivery. They didn't know how to deliver although they were trying to protect us from making the same mistakes. I think it just came out differently. It came out more so in a disciplinary way versus an educational way. Like, let me tell you why. And it could be, like we said, it could be shame. They were ashamed of the lifestyle that they had, and they didn't want us to make the same mistakes. But again, with anything that we're going through, we have a choice to either be a product of our circumstances or break the cycle and be different. And I chose to have an open line of communication with my girls, and we talked about everything. Because I didn't get that. Some stuff, it was like we just don't touch on, we just don't talk about. And it was always because I said so. We didn't get to double back and say, well, Mama, why did you say that? And it was always, well, because I said so. But in today's era, it's more where you find yourself where parents are explaining to the kids, well, this is why I said what I said, or this is why I handled the situation the way I handled. But we didn't get that. And like you said, it was a different time. And that makes a huge difference in why we are where we are, because of the time. SKR say now.
But no, sis, I get what you're saying. And again, I think that all goes into, because although you have an open communication with your kids, I'm sure it's not to the extreme of today's gentle parenting, in quotation marks.
Oh, no,
I'm sure that you still had a level of discipline. Now, this new gentle parenting, they let them kids do, say, whatever. So I think, again, the way that I reason with myself, and I didn't take it as hurt growing up that my parents didn't say I love you much. When I moved to relocated to Vegas. Right before that, I made my daddy. I said, no, say I love you. Because I said, I love you, daddy. Okay, baby. That's all he would say. No, say it. But again, how could they learn how to love or voice it? And they were slaving out there in the cotton fields. And you know what I mean? So even with that, the strictness, because my mama wasn't no joke. I mentioned the other day, she didn't make me wear like the long skirts and things like that. but she wasn't no joke at all. What she said goes, like you said, and ain't no why. When I used to say, why, mama? She'd say, yours is not to wonder why. Yours is just to do or die. And that stuck with me, so, but I get it. And, it's a good thing, even with you, sis, freeing yourself. That's something that I'm so big on now. Communicating, period. I don't care who it's with. And that's a form of freeing yourself of things that's bothered you or is currently bothering you, so.
And it has been such an amazing journey, just being able to have an aunt that's still living, and she's open to sharing the stuff, because she been telling me everything. When I say we've been talking about some stuff, and she said, well, that's why so and so didn't talk to this one, and that's why. I'd be like, what?
Auntie's spilling all the tea.
Girl, she's spilling all the tea. But it has been, like you say, so freeing to hear, because it's helping to put together some pieces of the puzzle that was missing. Like, oh, well, that's why, we didn't get to go to this cousin's house or that cousin's house, because, they had all of this secret animosity against each other, and all of these different secrets that took place in the family, and it just wasn't spoke about. And like we were saying earlier, all we knew is when Granny said she want everybody at her house for family dinner, everybody came to the house, whether you like them or not. Ain't nobody saying nothing, and ain't no fussing, no fighting, and all of this kind of stuff. But we could sense that there was friction between some of the aunts, uncles, and cousins, but nobody ever talked about it. And just as kids, we always wondered, like, what in the world is going on? And nobody talked about it. And it was
it's sad though. I wish that they could have freed themselves. Because especially in the Black community, the secrets that went on with them when they went on to glory, it's really sad. But like I said, I haven't told everything. Not that it's anything bad or whatever. I expect people to keep some things to themselves, but it's a lesson that especially when it comes to the strictness, and I'm talking about the moms. You ain't gonna be out there messing around with them. You're not gonna be a fast tail girl, or I heard it all myself. Especially when it comes to things like that, I do think that they really need to handle that better. So I'm hopeful that this generation, well, not this generation, but people have changed, because those that sneak, or those that are put into a position to sneak, are the ones that end up the wildest. So you're really not protecting anything. You know what I mean?
That's totally true. That's totally true. The ones that were the strictest ones, they gonna always find a way. I was one of them, climbing out of windows and everything, child. I remember one time, because my daddy was so strict, and I wanted to go to this little party that my friends were going to, and I had this baby doll that had the natural curly hair like I had, and I was trying to figure out a way I could sneak out the house and get to this party. Girl, I put you remember those pink hard plastic rollers that we used to put in our hair? Girl, I had rolled that doll hair up and put my baby scarf on that doll head, and I put her in my bed and covered her up. Girl, I stuck out that window.
What little boy was you trying to go see, sis? Because you ain't doing all that just for the party.
Yeah, it was just a party. But the boys was gonna be there, and everybody in school was like, "We going to the party Friday night. We going to the..." Girl, I went to that party. I snuck out there. So where there is a will, there is a way.
You know it. Look, did I tell you about the time I snuck to a party? It was on my block, and it was my brother's best friend, but I was best friends, and she's still my best friend to this day. That's the one I said we was best friends before I was born. That was his little sister. So we knew that the party, she was like, "Girl, it's in my basement. You know I'm gonna be there." I was about 12. I was about 12 or 13. So I kept saying, "Mama, I'm just gonna be upstairs with Jackie." She said, "You're not taking your ass to that party." Baby, I snuck to that party, and all I saw was the music stop. And I turned around and saw my little short mama baby with a belt, right? And when I tell you the basement was packed, I was dancing on some little boy, baby. She beat me all the way back down the street to the house, child. Oh,
the way.
girl, I was trying, and she was short, so I was trying to hold the belt when she was trying to swing it.
Girl, let me tell you. I look at Erica saying you was going to that party, if you were invited or not. Listen, I was invited and I had to go because everybody was going. And Teresa say, how did I get back in the house? Girl, let me tell you. So my bathroom window to my bedroom was to the back of the yard. So before I knew I was going, I had to go get this bucket, the little 5-gallon buckets, and I turned it down upside down out of my bathroom window. And I had one of those little skinny bathroom windows, but I had already went and took the screen off the window, and I had already put the bucket back there. So I knew, because my daddy went to sleep early. So I already knew what time he was going to be asleep. So I had already put everything together. I was fully dressed and everything. And I got up and I sneaked out the window. But we had dogs. My dad has always had German Shepherd dogs. And they were just barking. And that was my daddy's cue to wake up, right? So I was trying to hurry up and get gone before my daddy came to the door with his gun, because my daddy had, pow-pows in every corner of the house. And I left because my friend was at the top of the driveway. We had a long driveway that I had to run up so my daddy wouldn't hear the car. I told her, don't come in the driveway. I'll meet you at the end of the driveway. And I did that. But when I got back, that bucket was gone.
Oh, baby.
Girl, that bucket was gone and my heart dropped. The window was let down on the inside, so it was locked. I could not get in. I had to go through the front door. And baby, the whooping that was waiting on me got towed up. You hear me?
Look, sometimes them little, I don't want to call them beatings, but those little discipline, it was worth it, child. I still was able to kiss Craig. Look at me. You could beat me. I kissed Craig. That was my first love, child.
Girl got towed up.
It was worth it, baby.
But you know what? I would have got away, but it was my auntie, the same one that's telling me the tea. It was her. She told it, because this is the auntie. You know how we talk about, the people who always got a discerning spirit and the Lord just always showing them stuff. Everything she say come to pass ever since we've been little. And she called my daddy while I was gone and said the Lord told her that I had been sneaking out the house. And my daddy said, not my baby. And she said, yeah, well, I just wanted to tell you that's what the Lord showed me. And that man went in my bedroom and turned them covers back and saw that little doll with the hair rollers in it.
Oh, I'm just trying to envision that in my head. The doll black or white, girl?
No, she was brown skinned, because my daddy did not buy me white dolls. He did not buy me white dolls. So she had my same complexion, same fat face and everything. But I had her face to the wall and the cover pulled all the way up to her neck, and you could only see the scarf with the hair rollers in it.
Stop. I got tears running down my neck.
Girl, talk about tears, honey. He wore me out. You hear me?
Not auntie had a premonition, child.
They did and told it. And girl, when I got back, if you could just see the way my heart dropped when I got around to that window and that bucket was gone, I knew my life was over.
Oh, child. Look,
girl,
it was worth it, though. You got your party on. Just think about it. I didn't care. After a certain point, I didn't care. I expected the little whooping. But that last time, child, my mama had a broom. I went to, for those from Chicago, I went to an all-girls high school. My ex that I just divorced, he went to an all-boys high school. But their rival school, Mendel Boys School, was having a party. And me and my friend at the time, we wanted to go. I think I had got into it with him. So, some fine boys over there at Mendel, child. My mother's like, no, you cannot go. No. And I was like a junior in high school. I'm like, what the heck? So anyway, girl, I went anyway. And baby, I called myself turning that key to the back door real softly. And the back door, our little back porch area, the floor used to creak. So she heard me, but I didn't know that she heard me because she was standing behind the door with a broom, child. And look, I was a junior. I said, that's it. I had a little strength in me. And I grabbed the top of that broom, and she had the middle part, and she could not get my hand off. That was the last time. I said, no more, mama, no more.
Girl, let me tell you, that was it for me. I think it was a long time before I decided to scheme again, because I tried to, again, we be trying to come up with more strategic ways that we could do it. And I remember my brother was a senior in high school, and they were having senior skip day. In Mississippi, they used to have like senior skip day. They had that, and so my brother and some of his friends and a couple of the little girls that they liked decided to skip school. So this same auntie, I'm telling you, she got a history. This same auntie was coming from the beauty shop, and her salon was down the street that we used to stay on, but further down the street. Now, she didn't have to go that way, but her spirit told her she needed to take the back way home. She took the back way home. Now, our parents had always said when they at work, don't have nobody at that house when they at work. They didn't know that my brother had skipped school. Now, the boys that was with her, they had the cars parked in the driveway. My auntie say had a line of cars, like they was partying over there. So my auntie pulls up to the house. They had no idea that she was coming. She just popped up since she saw all the cars in her brother's yard, and her brother was at work. So she was coming to see who was all this traffic at his house. So when she got out, she had already looked inside the car, and some of the girls had left their purses in the car. So she knew it was some girls in the house. So when she went to the door, my brother, you know how you have a little crack when you see who it is and you don't want to let them come in? He was just looking at her through the crack. He said, hey, TT. Well, she said, let me in. She said, let me in. And she said, what you got going on over here? He was like, well, it was senior skip day, and me and some of the guys came over. She said, well, what the girls? He said, ain't no girls in here, TT. And she said, well, let me come. Unbeknownst to her, he done dipped the little girls off in the hall closet. We had a long hallway, and it had a closet in the hallway. So my auntie come in, she talking to the fellas. She like, hey, fellas, so y'all all skip school? She walking while she talking because she looking for the girls. She went in the living room. She didn't see them. She was looking all in the bedroom. She went in my bedroom to see if they were in my bedroom. And she was getting ready to come back up the hall closet. She said, this is the only place I haven't looked. So she turned the knob, but the knob wouldn't turn. Them heifers was holding the knob closed from the inside of the closet. And she was turning the knob, and she said, oh, is this door always stuck like this? My brother said, yes, ma'am, it always stuck. Daddy got to fix the knob on that door. She said, oh, okay. So she went to act like she was coming up the hall. So the girls let the door, they stopped holding it as tight as they were holding it. Girl, she doubled back real quick, and she snatched all them heifers flew out the closet. She pulled them all out. She made them get their purses, get in her car, and she took them girls back to school and had the principal to call their mom. Girl, when I say to this day, girl, to this day, my brother cannot stand that auntie. She said her spirit told her to go to bed. So, girl, that was so funny. So, talk about secrets. Oh my gosh.
Yes, ma'am.
We got some stories.
Look, and some of that fast talk. That's why when you had this conversation before, I was one of the ones in the chat that said I deserve to be called fast because I was. I was fast.
We was outside.
To be fast because she tried to make me not fast. I was just fast, child.
Because and I think my situation was I grew up in such a strict household. I felt like I was missing something.
Right.
It seemed like all of my friends were having all of the fun because they could go whenever they wanted to. They could have the little sleepovers when they got ready. They went to all the little parties. And I'm like, well, I'm missing something because they come to school on Monday talking about we did this Friday, Saturday, and I'm in church. So I
Mhm.
wanted to see. I'm like, I'm going to these parties.
Yeah. And that's what they don't realize. Again, sometimes you could be too strict. You got to give them a little breathing room because people are going to sneak. You know what I mean? Especially at that age. You embarrassed, like you said, going to school and other people got stories from the weekend and
Mhm.
you couldn't say anything. But I got a sneaking high school story. I think I told the cutie crew. My ex, his school was sneaking, and my school, senior ditch day. And no, this wasn't senior because he was a junior. Anyway, I think I was a sophomore at the time. But you guys remember them old heavy phones from back in the day? The head,
Uh-huh.
the cord, that's the circled cord that connects to the phone, and the rotary was on the wall. We had a rotary one in the
Mm-mm.
kitchen, and that's when the cordless phones just came out. But baby, we still had that old rotary plugged up, and I'm on the phone coordinating with him. Meet me at my house tomorrow. I think it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I forgot what I said, child. Anyway, I got dressed that morning like I was going to school. So I had on my little Catholic school girl skirt. I think I told you guys about this. And I think that was going to be the day that we was going to do the do. And baby, my
Mm-mm.
mama bust through my bedroom, bust through that window. And you guys know my name. And his name rhymes. So she called me. She said, my name, get your ass up. And I think she told him, get your ass out of here. Baby, she had picked up that phone the night before and heard everything. You hear me? So, look, I told you guys this before. I am grateful for the strictness when it comes to my mom because, I was able to see examples of a lot of the other girls that just had what I thought was total freedom. And by the time I was 18, 19, they was on kid number
Mhm.
6, 7. You know what I mean? So I don't think that you really get to the point where you're grateful until you're grown and realize how
Mhm.
things could have turned out. I deserve air whooping. Mama, thank you. I'm looking up at the sky right now. Thank you. I deserve air whooping. But baby, when she buzzed me with, and I had on that skirt and I was sitting on top of him. That's that's how she busted in that door. We was on the floor. He was laying back on his back, and girl, I was straddling.
Girl, she was ready.
All I felt, I think, a kick to my back. I don't know what it
Oh,
was.
she jumped up and drop kicked you, too. Like,
Right to the testament, Andre the Giant, what is going on?
oh, girl, that was so funny. But
Girl.
I totally agree. And we say this all the time. We thank God we don't look like what we went through. But a lot of that strictness saved us from a lot of stuff. And a lot of the reason why some of us are still here today is because of the prayers of our ancestors, babe. Because
Yes.
listen, we went through some stuff, we did some stuff we take into our own graves. But we did some stuff, and I'm grateful because, like you said, I remember going back home to my class reunion, my high school class reunion, and when I saw some of my classmates, and I'm sitting there like, I could hardly recognize some of them because they looked like they had had a hard life. And these are some of the ones who, didn't have parents that were strict when we were, growing up. They were able to do whatever they want to do and go wherever they wanted to go. So I'm thankful in that manner that I didn't have a hard life, but I had my moment, my phase. I was outside, I was sneaking.
Found a way.
I was sneaking, and that's how I ended up getting pregnant at an early age as a teenager. There was my way of the Lord saying, "Now sit down because you knew you weren't supposed to be doing this in the first place."
Mhm.
But again, it was, they were all learning lessons, and in my adult life, especially when I had my kids, I
Mhm.
became to become more grateful for the upbringing I did have.
Mhm.
because had I not had that, ain't no telling where I would be or what kind of shape I would be in. Probably would have 10, 11 kids,
Yes.
the way we were outside back in the day. So yeah, those were the moments, but those were, some of the secrets. So like you say, our ancestors had secrets, and we got some secrets of our own that
Mhm.
we'll be taken to the grave and all of that kind of stuff. But just hopefully it's not any of those traumatic type of
Harmful
secrets
secrets,
and
right?
stuff that people have to live with. So
Yeah.
that's the blessing in it. It was, fun secrets that we kept, because I remember because we were grown and we were me and my siblings had traveled back home, and we were having like a family get together, and we thought it would be nice to share with our parents some of the stuff that we had got away with, because we grown now, we can tell y'all. Girl,
Mhm.
when I say my daddy got so angry, and he was more so angry that we got away with it and he didn't catch it because he thought he was slick. And he
Mhm.
thought that all his little strictness worked, but we was like, Daddy, we used to sneak out all the time. Girl, he got so angry, he was ready to whoop us as adults. We would say, Daddy, but we grown now. He said,
So
I
like
don't
a
care how
failure.
old you get, you still my kid. So it was so funny, but we were able to share those and just laugh about it. But not everybody's story is the same. Everybody don't have the funny secrets. Some have some very harmful and hurtful secrets and stuff that they are having to unfold and go through. So to anybody that's watching or listening in tonight who's actually hurting because of family secrets, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not broken because of what was hidden from you. You are human, you are healing, and you are worthy of the peace that you are seeking. And maybe you spent years trying to understand why certain things were kept from you. Maybe you are grieving the truth that you never got, or the love that never showed up the way you needed it to. But I want you to know that it's okay to feel hurt, it's okay to feel confused, it's okay to even feel angry, because those are real emotions and they deserve to be acknowledged, not buried and not holding them in. Because here's the beautiful truth: healing doesn't always come from getting the answers. Healing don't always come from us getting answers that we're seeking for certain stuff. Sometimes it comes from just accepting the fact that the silence stops with you making a decision that you are going to heal from this stuff you're going through. You get to choose a different kind of legacy that you want to leave for your children, and one that's actually built on honesty and not secrets, and built on openness and the love that doesn't hide behind shame, being shamed for stuff. So you may come from a painful story, but you are not the pain. That's the key. You are the lesson, you are the growth and the freedom that comes after all of the pain. So give yourself permission to breathe again, to exhale, to forgive what you never got an apology for. Because sometimes we holding on to stuff that we ain't gonna never get an apology for. Never get an apology for. Because healing isn't about us forgetting what happened. It's about us actually remembering that we survived it. Because some of us went through some stuff that when we look back on other people, they didn't survive some stuff that we've gone through. And it's about choosing peace anyway, regardless. So you are not your family's secret. You are the answered prayer for change. So, let's make sure we remember that as we're going through our journey of trying to heal and going through, just seeking answers that we may not ever get. We may not ever get answers, but again, you can stop the cycle. The cycle stops with you. So as we close tonight's episode, again, did y'all enjoy this episode? It has been fun, but it actually has been, release. We were able to like talk about some things and share some things and let some stuff out, and just be able to look back and think a little deeper on some things. So I want to just speak again to the person who's tired of pretending that everything is okay, to the woman that is carrying her family's pain in silence, to the daughter who knows too much, and to the mother who's afraid to say too little. The truth may shake the table, but it's the only thing strong enough to rebuild it. You don't have to carry the weight of other people's choices. You do not have to protect the pain. You do not have to prove your loyalty, because breaking silence doesn't destroy the family. It actually restores the family, because freedom and healing is living in honesty. So tonight, I challenge you to give yourself permission to exhale, give yourself permission to release, and give yourself permission to heal. You are not the secret. You are the cycle breaker. You are not the secret. You are the cycle breaker. So in our closing affirmation, remember this: we can't heal what we keep hiding. The truth doesn't destroy, it delivers. Again, we cannot heal what we keep hiding. The truth doesn't destroy, it delivers. It delivers. So let's close in prayer. Again, thank you to everybody that joined tonight. I appreciate you all for being here. I hope this topic was able to touch somebody in a positive way, to make some sort of impact to you in your life as you're going through your healing journey. I really do pray. So let's bow our heads. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, tonight we come before you with open hearts, hearts that may be heavy, but hearts that are ready to heal. Lord, we talked about these hidden things, this pain, the secrets, and the silence that has lingered for generations and generations. And tonight, oh God, we lay it all before you. We ask you, oh God, to shine your light on the dark places, to uncover what needs to be revealed, not to bring shame, Lord, but to bring healing. Lord, give us the courage to face the truth, the strength to forgive, and the wisdom to know when and how to speak, oh God. Help us, Lord, to break every cycle that has kept our families bound. Heal the wounds, the words never addressed, and the comforts of our hearts that were hurt by the silence, oh God. We ask, oh God, that you replace the bitterness with peace, the guilt with grace, and the fear with freedom. For every person listening tonight who's been carrying unspoken pain, Lord, remind them that you see them, you love them, and you have already started the work of healing in their lives. Lord, may this conversation not just stir emotions, but to spark transformation. Help us to build new legacies rooted in truth, rooted in honesty, and rooted in love that reflects your grace. We thank you, oh God, for the courage to break generational curses and for the peace that comes when the truth finally meets the light. In your precious Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Thank you all so much for joining us on another episode of Pink Table Topics. I appreciate you for being here. To all of the content creators that was here, I appreciate you. I love you. Everybody that will be joining up and catching the replay, shout out to you. Please make sure you hit the like button on your way in. Feel free to drop down and leave a comment. Y'all feel free to share the video if you feel like that it'll help somebody else, because that's what this is all about. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. And this concludes this episode of Pink Table Topics. Thank you so much for rocking with me. And as always, I had a blast. And remember, over here, we all get a seat at the table, because it's not about me. It's about us. I love you all, and chat with you soon.